Hello beauties, Emin here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you a little bit about my lockpick collection and some of the things that I do to customize my lockpicks to make them easier for me to handle. Um, so in a later video, I am going to be doing a video regarding my disability. I have a rare genetic disorder that causes tumors on the bones, and I've had some tumors on my fingers, and I get a lot of chronic arthritis with it. And so sometimes I have a hard time holding things, especially when they come to be really fine objects. So, um, I've really got into lockpicking over the past couple of months. I really enjoy it. I do it almost every day. And so I've been trying to find ways to make the picks a little bit more comfortable for me to handle. And with some of the sparrow lockpicks I've gotten, so these are the monkey paws from sparrows. And they didn't have thermal handles on them. So I'm an archer. I've got a lot of extra bowstring for stuff that I added onto my compound bow. And I got thinking, I could wrap these and it gives it a nice texture, a little bit more width, and it makes it a little bit easier to hold. I've shared this a couple of times on Facebook and posts, and a lot of people have really liked it. So I thought I would do a video showing exactly how I've done that. Now, you'll notice that I actually do have like different colors here. So when you see the red and the black, those are the 0.025 with the black are the 0.020, and then the white is 0.015. So I try to color code the pick so that I know when I grab them what width I'm going to do. And a couple days ago, I noticed that Sandman released a video regarding the covert instrument picks and something that he does with them to improve the handle on them. I like the covert instrument picks. I like they're a bit wider on the handles, a little bit easier to hold. But again, that solid metal. So I wanted something to do something with them to kind of help improve the grip with them. And Sandman actually had a really cool way of taking a marine shrink tube and using that to really build out a nice handle. And he did it really nice and thick. And that might be something I try down the road. But I'm really kind of fond of the bowstring approach I'm doing. It gives it a nice texture. The wax on the bowstring doesn't get on the hands, but it still gives you a nice grip on it, so you can really uh, grip it nice and light and still have a really good traction on it. And one thing that's really nice with the doing the bowstring is it does keep it a low profile. So I love the Sparrows Sherman lockpick case, and this is my main one. You can see I've got a ton of lockpicks in it. And so what with doing the bowstrings, it gives it a nice way of holding it, but also keeps them low enough that you can fit everything in your Sparrow Sherman case. Um, so it's to me it's a nice approach and all that. So let me get all these guys back in here. And I've also got taken this approach with my turning tools. And so especially like the top of the keyway turners. So, here are the some turners I got from Covert Instruments from their Genesis set. Really nice. I love using these for bottom the keyway tension. And then I got the Sparrow curved bars here, and I've done the same approach by doing the my archery bowstring lines on it, so that way it just gives it something I can hold on to a little bit easier and grip a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you do this. So currently right now I'm going through the covert instrument picks I got from the Echelon kit. So these are the 0.020 width picks that came with the Echelon set. So I've already done the short hook, the long hook, and one of the rakes. And so I got this last rake here to do. So before you start this, what you're going to want to do is you want to prep yourself just a little bit. I always like to kind of cut a couple of things ahead of time. So the first thing that you want to do is just cut a length of line and loop it and tie it off at the bottom to form this loop. You'll use this at the end of the process, and if you make this big enough, what's really nice is you can really kind of get your finger in there and pull it, because that's going to be kind of important. And then the other thing I always like to do is just cut a couple of different lengths of line from different color strings. And I'll use that when I'm especially doing multiple layers. And that's just give me a visual reference to make sure that I'm getting everything nice and tight and next to each other. And then the other thing that you'll just want is you'll want a knife. I like this Gerber knife I got from Lowe's. You can also use a box cutter. That works as well, but this is kind of my go-to knife for this stuff. So let's go and get started here. So because this is 0.020 width, I'm going to use my black bowstring. Again, you can use different colors. You can use any type of bowstring. What's really nice about the bowstring is it is a waxed line. And that wax is what's going to help keep it on the or grab on the metal there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the bottom here. You can start either end. I always like doing it from the bottom. So you're just going to lay it right along there, and then you're just going to do a couple of loops just to make sure that you got a good grip on that. And then you can go, and you can see even with just doing one line, that's already on there nicely. And now what you do is you just keep wrapping around. And what you'll see me do is I'll kind of start down and then I'll move my way back. And that's just to make sure that I am on the keeping everything nice and tight. And once you do this a few times, you kind of do get the sense of it. So now this takes me, I can do about maybe a pick a day or a couple of picks a day with this, because with my hands it is a bit of a stretch on the hand, especially if you do have arthritis and all that. So you'll see me jump between the different fingers, and that's just for comfort. All right, so I'm about halfway. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around so I can kind of take a different approach. This is a little bit easier coming this way. And so you'll see I'll start up there, kind of come down, and that just helps ensure that I keep everything nice and tight. And there are different ways that you can do this. I mean, I've seen people just kind of have a spool here and then they can just wrap it around like this. I like this approach. It gives me more control, and it allows me to control the tension of the line better. You do want to make sure that you keep things nice and tight, because that's what's going to keep the wax in place and prevent it from sliding and give it some nice longevity. All right. So we're getting close to the end. Now, when you're getting towards the ends, you do want to be careful because of the curve. You don't want to get up on that curve. I mean, you could go over and kind of hit the bottom of the pick if you want. I typically don't do that just because it is a bit of a pain in the butt going around that curve. So, but you don't want to go too far away from the curve, because then when you're holding the pick, you are at the end and it kind of loses the purpose. So I go to just about there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down. I'm going to grab my other line here. I'm going to put this under here. And especially when I'm working with just the black string, this is very useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just finish this line here and start my way back. And so you can see with that extra color there, you can see exactly where you are and where you've been. And so you can keep everything all nice and tight. So we're going to just keep going back like this. for a little bit, and then when we get about an inch, what I start doing is I start pulling this line down a bit, and that's just to allow it to move a bit easier. Um, if you kind of go through the whole thing while keeping that there, it is a bit hard to pull out at that point. Um, so as you work through the wrap, you just want to kind of pull it down as you go. So I'll get a couple more inches and then we will pull that through some more. Feel free to fast forward the video to the next part. I don't do a lot of photo editings. My photo style is pretty much I do all my videos in one take. I've got a lot of other stuff that I do. I love woodworking. I love doing photography. I love playing games. I work full time as a programmer. So I don't do a lot of video editing. So with these videos, I'm just going to kind of post them as I make them like this. I'm not doing this for money or anything like that. I'm doing it because I'm enjoying it. So do feel free to post comments on my videos and feedback if there's particular things that you want me to do or if you want me to cover. Again, I am not a professional lockpicker. I'm not a professional locksmith. I do this as a hobby, and I've only been doing this for about 3-4 months now. And I've gotten pretty good with master lock padlocks. I'm starting the American lock padlocks right now. Those are giving me a lot of grief. And I am starting some of the kind of the doorway uh, keyways and all that. And I'll probably do some videos on those. I am going to do some videos for the Lockpickers United belt system. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that and you're into lockpicking, I definitely recommend that. I mean, it's a nice little way of challenging it and challenging yourself and tracking your skill level and all that. Um, if you're interested in getting into lockpicking, I highly recommend going through and like Covert Instruments has some really nice picks, starting pick kits. They do have the FNG set, which has a clear lock. That's a good beginning lock, and it comes with a couple of good picks. You have the Genesis set through them, which is really good. And you do have an option with the Genesis set of getting a practice lock that you can easily swap the pins out and configure and all of that. So Covert Instruments, I highly recommend. I love their picks and all that. Sparrows, I do like. There are people who, are on both sides of the camp on that. But, I do like it. I don't like their practice locks as much, but they're good locks still. And if you're getting started, for me, those were good starting locks. You can also find stuff on Etsy and Amazon and eBay. And if you get involved in a Facebook group, you got a lot of good resources there and all of that. So, all right, anyways, getting back to the wrap here. I'm towards the end, so I'm actually going to kind of flip this around, make it easier for me to hold. And when you're about an inch from the end, what you actually want to do now is you want to go and grab that loop that you made earlier and put that in here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you give yourself enough spacing at the end to get the line through, but also enough down here for you to grab. And so once you get that in place, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap around it a couple of times like this. All right, and I'm going to go back to my original way of doing it. And here you really want to be careful with the tension that you're using. You want, or not careful, but you want tension. You want to really pull at it at this point because this is one of the ends. And so, but you'll notice I pulled out that guideline because with this being a different color, I can see exactly where I've been. And so at this point, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put that down. This is another reason why I like working with a bowstring, is you can put it down and not worry about it on spinning. So I'm going to actually kind of cut this at this point. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a lead. Depending on how far you have left with it, you can give yourself a lot of line. You can give yourself short. I always like going on the side of caution and giving myself more than I need. And this just makes it easier to handle at the end here. So I'm actually going to wrap this up a few more times. All right, now I'm at the end. And so what I'm going to do now is, again, here you want to be careful not to go too far. In fact, I'm a little far, so I'm going to back that up a little bit. And so what you do is you just bring your line right through the hoop, pull that nice and tight. You take your loop and you pull it through. I stop right when it gets in there, because what I always like to do, I always like to give this a nice little pull first. And then what you can do is you can put your finger through that hoop and pull that through. And what that does is it pulls your line under your wrapping, give that a nice tug, and then you can take your knife and go right under that line, right up against the wrapping that you just did. Just be careful not to go too deep on it. You do want to give yourself just a little bit of slack on it, and then you just cut it. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to cut that wrap there. Because if you cut that wrap right there, it will all come undone. All right, and then what I always do is I always just, pinch it up and down. I always just kind of pull it down at the ends just to be on the safe side. But that waxy line's going to grip, and this is what you do on your bowstring. So when you're making your own bowstring and you're making that section that you knock the arrow on, this is actually the technique that you use with that. I thought it was just kind of cool thing to do with the lock picks, and it just makes it a lot easier to grip and to use them. So that's the end of this video. Again, I do appreciate comments and all that stuff. If you enjoy my videos, let me know. I am planning on making a couple more in the near future. And everyone have a beautiful day.